Alright, next up on this series with the MAC-10 and the MAC-11 is let's compare and contrast some of the parts between the two. They're big brother and little brother to each other. Ingram, when he made them, made the MAC-10 first and then the MAC-11, but let's see what he did to make a MAC-11 out of a MAC-10. First of all, are any of the parts interchangeable? I don't think so. I mean, if they are, there's something like the front sight post, perhaps, or something in here. Actually, the way that it looks like it's built, I don't even think that can be. No, so there's no adjustable stuff on the front. So maybe a pin or a screw or something. Perhaps the triggers groups. That might be something that's more standard. So let's take a look at that. First off, the trigger guards. Don't think so. Definitely not. Look at the thickness of the 380 and then the thickness of the 45. Just the trigger guard itself is a different piece of material. The triggers themselves, though, look at how fine that one is and how much of a point this one comes to. The 45 is behind it, 380 up front, so the 380 is definitely a smaller, there's more of a blade here than there is on the 45. And internally, obviously different size chassis, so different type of triggers, parts. Some of them, though, well, they do look pretty much different. So let's see, we've got them both on fire, like they should be, and the full auto one's on full. So when I pull the trigger, you can see the same kind of thing happens. Now I'm going to flip this one to safe. Let's see what happens. So a little bit different. This one's pulling it up further, and when I flip it to full, you can see the semi is lifting higher than the full is. So this is probably to not engage some sear on the bolt, I'm guessing. So very similar trigger packs, though. If we look again, the smaller one is the 380, and you can see all the parts are similar. They're just different shape and different sizes for the larger 45. Mag well, again, pretty much identical. Rear sight, except for the size of the frame, basically the same thing. The front pins are a little different. I guess we'll take a look at them in a second. The little back strap thing on the back of the pistol grip, similar. I don't think it's the same, again, just because of the physical size, but very similar. You can see the mag well on the 45 has some gaps. You can see the notches on the side of the 45 magazine. So as it comes up, those notches have to have somewhere to go, and they're actually there to stop at the top of that indentation. So you can see where they would stop. Let's hit this to let the mag come out, and I'll just hold my finger here. See? So they go up and they hit the top of that notch to, I guess, stop them, have them head out. The 380, though, has the same similar notches, but they actually just hit on the bottom of the mag well, physically. So, again, probably a dimensional issue. If we look at mag releases, this one has an aftermarket extended mag release, the 380. The 45 has the standard where you have to kind of reach up into the back of the grip there and pull down. And honestly, I don't like this one. At first I liked it, but as I shoot it more, because it's a smaller grip, see how big my hand is with all its muscles? All the bottom of my hand muscle comes in and touches this, and then that drops the mag sometimes, so that's annoying. Otherwise, you can see same shape. If we had a different back plate on the pistol, you can see the two little notches here and here where the stock would go. So if we take a look at that stock on this one, it's permanent on this side, it pinches here. So we pinch in to let it rock up over the rear sight, and it can either go to that position or that position. This is the shooting position. Then we push this button, and when we push in on the button, it's going to lift up on these two tabs. And if we look inside the frame, there's the tabs for the extended position. So now it locks into place on those tabs, and you can see when I push the button here to release that, where the rails go, they just slide right in there and go up past everything. And if I wanted to take it out, I could just take it out. And now if I look down through there, there's a channel all the way through that side and all the way through that side. So if I want to reassemble the stock, I'll just stick this back in here. push up on that button, and then it goes back in. So the pistol has the same pieces, but because it's a pistol and it can't have a stock attached, they put a different backplate on that doesn't allow these to work. So if this was the machine gun version, it would have the same stock, just smaller, and it would go down through those little channels and right up past the trigger group. And if you look, you can almost see the gaps where they would be. So it's not difficult to turn this into an SBR, for example. I could just Dremel out those little things, do my Form 1 to create an SBR, acquire a little stock like this, and then you can see how it would work just the same. Would that be awesome? That would be incredibly awesome. Is it completely an infringement on our Second Amendment rights? Of course it is. So we'll talk about that in another video. So I think we've looked at, oh, let's take a look at one more thing. We've got the button down there. We talked about the slots for the stock, but we also have the button, the holes for the button. So it is basically the machine gun. That's one of the things I like best about my little open bolt, is that this was literally a machine gun. They put a different backplate on and didn't attach the stock, and then they didn't put the full auto stuff over here. Otherwise it's a sub gun. Anyway, so let's keep going. We've got the magazines. We talked a little bit about those. Obviously different dimensions for the different type of ammo, different lengths, and I believe the appropriate term here is 30s on everything. They both have the stops so that they don't go too far in or overfeed. They're both shaped similarly. They have similar followers, similar floor plates, and I'm assuming the springs are similar. I'm not going to take those apart. So, nice stick mags. The 380 actually comes with this little tiny one, but I use this longer extended one because it's more extended. Let's get into the bolts. I'm assuming they're going to be almost identical, just a difference in size. There are going to be a couple of differences, however. So first off, the little 380 has an extractor here. So it's got a little, well, does it have a little button to eject? Yep. So on this side we've got the ejector pushing, and then on this side we have the extractor yanking. And on the 45 we just have the ejector. I think I'm getting those. I might get them mixed up, but we're talking about this is going to guide the case out, and this is going to give it the impulse, that rod that comes up when it goes back. So let's think about this. So as the gun is firing, it goes forward in the upper receiver, the bolt goes forward, it strips off from the magazine around here, it strips off around, it locks into place, and because the firing pin is part of the whole bolt and everything, it immediately goes off, and then it starts to come backwards, and as it travels backwards, this part of the bolt carrier and everything is going to hit the back of the receiver. It's going to hit back here. So as it goes backwards, there's something here, then the bolt carrier squishes all those springs, and that top one probably just keeps it in line and everything, but then this bottom one is doing a job, and it's shoving the spent case out of the gun. And I guess you can see its ejector over here. It's just because it's so large, it's down inside of the bolt, where on the little 380 there's just not enough meat, so it ends up being right here where you can see it. Alright, so we've talked about the ejection part. If we look at the bearing surfaces, you can see they're raised on the top and bottom, and you can see where they're getting their wear. It's in about the same spots, so really just a scaled down version of its big brother. And we can see some windows here, and I wonder if that was for weight reduction or for something else, but we don't have them on the 45. We do have the same two rods. Again, that first rod which contains the spring, and then the second rod which is actually the ejector. Then we've got the front, which is basically the same. There's a little pin here which must be for something. I just haven't paid attention to what it is. And then we've got the place where the springs come forward, and you can see there's little pins on there. I'm not going to be able to focus on them well, but that's what stops the pins from just falling out all the way to the rear. I guess I'll also mention that they do have buffers. A lot of guns that buffers are available for, they're not necessary, but on a Mac it is a pretty necessary part of the gun. So if I get my hand behind there, they're just basically a square of heavy rubber, neoprene or something, that allows it to hit and buffer, bounce off of that as opposed to just hitting metal. weight-wise, a little bit heavier on the 45. I guess let's get into the upper then. Pretty similar. Both of them are made out of sheet metal that's folded into a square. Again, a scaled down version of its big brother. We've got basically the receiver itself, which is again a piece of flat metal that's folded. Then we've got a trunnion, which is a big solid piece of metal that's holding the barrel. Then we've got barrels, and then we've got a pin that holds the barrel right there and right underneath there on this one. And then on this one we've got a clip, like washer, whatever you want to call this, a retainer, and that's where the strap goes on. We'll take a look at that in a second. Both of these barrels have the threaded barrels so that you can adapt either a barrel device, like one of those shrouds, or a shoulder thing that goes up, or the suppressor. And obviously a MAC was designed to work with the suppressor, so both of these have it. You can get barrels without the threaded suppressor threads. Otherwise they look like they're constructed the same way and just smaller and larger. Get into the front sights, which are just a piece again of flat metal that's cut, bent, and spot welded onto the top of the receiver. Same shape and everything, just again a different size for the different size frames. I was hoping that something would be the same, but even these little charging handles are scaled differently. Though they're exact same shape and everything, just a little bit bigger for the 45 than it is for the 380. I guess that'll bring us to this, what do you call these, nylon straps. They attach differently and they're different lengths. So just from shooting both of them, when this one attaches to the 45, it'll just clamp on the outside like this. It's really strong. It's a little wider also, and it's a different type of nylon, so it's like stiffer. This makes an excellent grip, and with the metal and everything, it's super comfortable. If I had the whole gun together here, I think you've seen it in movies enough to know what I'm talking about. Makes it real easy to hold on to this one. This one's a little tougher because of where it's at. So that one is basically coming off the side of the gun, where this one reaches under and kind of comes from the bottom. So I haven't found the best place to hold this one. Good news is the 380 doesn't even recoil because it's just a 380, so no real need for that strap. But it's cool because its big brother has one, so it wears one. Last up will be the pins, and we talked about the notch on the pin on the 45 that keeps it in place with its little, I guess we didn't talk about this when we were taking them apart. This one has a little deal here, which is what retains the pin. So if we look down through the hole there, you can see that this thing comes along. When this falls out of the way, the pin goes in, and now the pin's locked in. When you pull that little guy out of the way, the pin's free to come loose. So that is the pin on this one. Now the 380 pin is a little bit different. It's a pin like a screw, with like a Chicago screw, except longer. I don't know what to call this. So this would come through one side and attach in and become the attachment from the other side. Alright, so that's the MAC-10 and the MAC-11 side by side, parts breakdown, and now you know how awesome they both are. And then there's a 9mm version that nobody cares about. Alright, hope you enjoyed the video. I guess I dropped my patch, so I'll use the Gun Channels patch. Let us know in the comments, wherever you happen to see it, what you thought, and as always, thanks for watching.